This link is fedup.com.au. Have a look at it and see all of the additives that are put into our foods and the ones especially to avoid. These here contribute to so many learning difficulties, ADHD, allergies, illnesses, diseases, sicknesses in our young ones and in adults as well. We don't always know what they are when we read them on the ingredients label at the back of a packet when we're in the supermarket, so it's up to us to research and have a look and see exactly what they are. These red ones here are to avoid because they contribute to horrible diseases like cancer. In Australia and New Zealand, we have these additives in our foods and some of them are banned in Europe. That just goes to show right there that what we're putting in our food is not good for us.
Thank you very much for accepting my invitation. And it's an absolute honor. And since I sent you the invitation, I have consumed a lot of your content on Facebook, which I will leave the link in the description. But at the beginning, for those of you who, for those of people watching who don't know who you are, can you please introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Sure. My name is Anna. I am 29 years old and I live in Christchurch, New Zealand, and I am a gut health coach. I am super passionate about gut health. My background is gymnastics coaching, personal training, and I'm also a life coach as well. Is there anything else you needed to know from that part?
I would say probably you would need to explain what the hell a gut health coach is.
Sure. So a gut health coach is basically, when you have a health coach, you can branch out into any type of health coaching that you like. And a gut health coach is somebody who specializes in the digestive system. So where your food goes in to where your food goes out and everything that goes on in between. Mm-hmm. It is diet and mindset specifically related that I specialize in when it comes to gut health, and it's all due to my own personal experience of healing my gut myself. That's how I became a gut health coach, because I used to just teach anyone and everyone. I'm a health and wellness coach. I can teach you like 10 different things, and it wasn't really specific, like what is it that you actually help me with, because I was so multi-passionate about mindset, fitness, gymnastics, stretching, handstands, nutrition, and everything. So I decided to really nail down on just the gut health side of things. Gut health can really mean a lot of things, but I love the diet and the mindset aspect of gut health. So yeah, that's a little bit about it. It's basically the digestive system. And yeah.
Okay, so could you give us a few examples of, I would say, common illnesses or health problems that people have that can be fixed without modern medicine, but just with proper nutrition? What would those examples be?
Yeah, so if I was to give examples, it would be my own story of healing, and that was eczema, acne, irritable bowel syndrome, severe period pains. It was fatigue, always feeling like I was tired all the time, even though I slept 9 or 10 hours a night, and just feeling like I didn't have enough energy. So fatigue, energy, skin issues, stomach pains, IBS, anything to do with your digestive system when it feels like it's not really working properly. Also things like food intolerances as well are symptoms of poor gut health.
So skin conditions, you're recommending that skin conditions should not be treated by some magical creams, but rather through diet.
Yeah, well, From my experience with eczema and with acne, I was born with eczema. So I had eczema ever since I was a baby, and all of the creams and pills and potions and everything that I had, it was treating the symptoms, and it would temporarily give me relief. So when I was super itchy, I would scratch until I would bleed. I'd put some cream on. I'd be good until the next day, and then it would get sore again and it would flare up. And same I struggled with acne when I was 11, and for 15 years, I was constantly trying all of the face washes that you see on the TV, the acne pills that the doctor gave me, the contraceptive pill I was throwing on that to help with my acne, all of that, and it never really got it to a manageable level that I was actually comfortable with. It was almost like it was just a temporary fix. And it wasn't until I healed my gut myself through nutrition, and also I used to be super stressed, so mindset work as well, was when my acne started to heal and my eczema started to heal. And I didn't intentionally go out of my way to be like, I'm going to work on this, I'm going to treat this, I'm going to treat this. It was just gut health in general, and all of my allergies that I had, severe hay fever as well, they just seemed to disappear, and I didn't need to keep taking my medication that I was taking for it. And it was almost like I didn't even mean to heal everything. I just wanted to have more energy. I just wanted to feel good and look good in myself. But then everything else all completely changed when I specifically was working on gut health. And I feel like that's something that we're not all told about. It's all treating everything externally, moisturizing yourself and doing all that can be great. But if you don't deal with what's going on internally with your gut health, which is really going to help balance out your hormones, then you're pretty much just treating the symptoms and treating it temporarily. And you're not actually getting to the root cause of why this is actually all happening in the first place.
Okay. I'm assuming that you cannot really give like one set of rules that would fit and work for everybody, because I'm guessing that we are all individuals and some things might work for everybody. So could you tell us what are the examples of food that we should absolutely 100% avoid?
I would have to say lollies, candy.
Sugar, basically.
Yes. Okay. Processed, not sugar that comes from like fruit or honey or walnuts or dates or fruits and dried fruit and that sort of thing. It's more processed sugar. So processed sugar is as addictive as cocaine. So when you consume it, not for everyone, but a lot of people, when you consume it, you want more and you want more, and then you feel like it's not enough until you eat so much that you feel bad about yourself and you feel sick, and then you wonder why you did that. And then the next day comes along and you're like, oh, I'm not going to do that again because it made me feel sick. But you have one lolly and then you want more, and it's like this instant like dopamine rush hits your brain and you just can't stop. So if I was to say one thing, that's the main thing that really does contribute a lot when it comes to your diet to things like irritable bowel syndrome and a lot of gut issues, is overconsumption of sugar. And that's where it's good to know what your triggers are. Some people can just have one lollipop and then they're good, like they feel fine and they don't need more. But people like me, if I have one, it's like I need to have more. So I understand that's my trigger.
Time out. Because I was smiling all through your monologue, let's say, because it's like you're talking about me. And I always talk to my clients that I'm a sugar addict, because that's who I am. Okay. I try not to consume. I've eliminated almost entirely. You won't find sugar at my place. Occasionally, right, I have some cakes or candy, yeah, but I'm aware of it, that it is extremely addictive. But would you compare it to like alcohol addiction? That if you're if you're an alcoholic, it's like you better not have alcohol at home, just in case. Okay.
Yeah. Just like that. It's an addiction. Yeah.
Okay. So sugar would be number one enemy. What is number two? Yeah. Let's have like three. If that's three things to avoid.
3 things to avoid. I would say any type of processed food. So what I mean by that is food that has additives and preservatives in it. So, for example, a bag of cashew nuts are amazing for you. They're really good, healthy fats. But if the cashew nuts have like canola oil in it and like sugar and salt, and it's roasted and toasted and frosted and everything like that, it completely changes the cashew nut and how healthy and beneficial it is for you. So when you have more foods that are just that one ingredient and only just the nut or only just the seed, and they don't have all of these other additives in it as well, it can really make a difference to your gut health, because these additives number 220 and 202, they have numbers on them, and you don't actually know what they are until you Google them. And most people don't look at them and then go and Google them on their phone while they're there, because it just takes up too much time. They just look at it and go, I don't know what that is, I'm just going to keep having it. Whereas some of them actually promote
it can be dangerous. I can buy it in the shop, so of course it can be dangerous. That's what people think.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly. So that's how food companies can get you buying more, because if you think of, say that you've got a food company, say that you're a man who owns a cracker company, right? And your cracker company is going, it's going okay. It's not too bad. But then all of a sudden you put sugar in it, and you put it on the label to show people sugar's in it, but you put sugar in it. And then all of a sudden people love your crackers more and they start eating it more. And then your sales rise. And because your sales are rising for that cracker company, you're able to, do more for your kids and do more in life, because you're getting that money coming in. But the expense of it is other people's health. They are consuming your delicious, addictive, tasty crackers that didn't used to have sugar in them, but now they do. And they're either unaware or they don't care that it has sugar in it because it's addictive, and then it makes you want to have more. But then as long as you're still getting the profits and your business is looking good, then you're going to keep doing it because you're not breaking any law.
Yeah, if you're making millions, it's very hard to be ethical.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would say that maybe that's enough. We have, I think, pretty clear list what to. I just basically eat food, not processed crap.
Yeah.
You could put it on a t-shirt. Eat food, not crap.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in your Facebook videos, you talk a lot also about stress management. So how do you combine the two? Meaning what you eat and how it affects your cortisol level or your stress level. Does that have an effect?
Yeah, definitely. So your diet and your stress levels, they basically go hand in hand. So when you are coming home from work and you have a bad day and you're stressed, or your boss told you that you are crap, or your ex-boyfriend came back in your life and told you you look ugly, then you're going to want...
Yeah, and in that context, the advice that you see in modern films is start eating a bunch of ice cream. That'll make you feel better. If you're sad and depressed, have a chocolate. But that's contradictory to what you said before.
Yeah.
So then what? If you're come home from work and you're stressed, pissed off, and depressed, then what?
Yeah. So the emotional state that you're in of that is of somebody who just wants something to make them feel good, because we humans, we're either heading towards pleasure or running away from pain. And if this food is going to temporarily comfort us during these tough times of sadness, of what, our neighbor said to us, or what Bob said to us, or whatever that's made us feel bad, if we have this food that we know is going to make us feel good temporarily, then we're more like drawn to that, rather than just sitting with our feelings and just being okay with, maybe we feel crap, maybe we feel sad, maybe we, don't feel good right now, but what do I actually really need in this moment? So it's that emotional awareness that I love to teach people, is just being able to just sit and just breathe, go get a glass of water and think, what is it that you need in this moment? Do you maybe need to go and call up your mum and have a conversation with her? Do you need to have a hug from your husband for like 2 minutes and for him to just hold you? Or do you need to go and play with your puppy instead because they'll make you happy? What is it that you're actually needing in that moment? Or maybe you just need to cry. Is it actually needing the food, because sometimes, yes, if you're like, look, I haven't had a treat meal in a month and I want to treat myself. If you allow yourself to do that, then there's no guilt attached with it. But what usually tends to happen is that we don't allow ourselves to do it, and we do it just out of habit.
Mm-hmm.
And then we feel guilty, and then we blame ourselves, and then we feel shame, and then our cortisol levels rise even more because we're stressed. And then when we're stressed, we just want to keep eating because we're like, wow, I've already eaten the cookies. The chips are there too. It's not really going to make much difference if I eat the chips too. And then boom,
And
all
then
cupboards.
avalanche. And then it's avalanche. It's like binge eating.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I always ask this to everyone who specializes in something that most people have no awareness of. How what you know affects your personal life? I know you have a child, so what you know now, you didn't know when you were a child. So probably or perhaps some views of your parents, the grandparents of your child, might be different in terms of what the kid should or shouldn't eat. So how does it affect your personal life? What you know?
Yeah. So I know what is in food, and I know what the food companies do to get you addicted so that they can essentially make money, so that they can provide for their families. So knowing that means that I give my daughter mostly whole foods.
Mm-hmm.
So give her cut up fruits or veggies, or like organic brown rice crackers, or even bliss balls with ingredients that I know exactly what's in it. And when it comes to her going to my mum's place,
Mm-hmm.
it's a little bit different. So I have to just sometimes be able to be okay that sometimes her cousins and other kids are going to shove cake in her face, which she has already had done, even though I don't want to actually give her cake. But she's had it done to her already by her cousin, just throwing the cake in her face. Her cousin was 3. So I know that there are some things that are out of my control, no matter how much I try to keep her safe. This is my way of caring for her and keeping her safe, is because I don't want her ending up with a sugar addiction or ending up going through what I went through. And I feel like as parents, we keep our kids safe based on what we've been through, and we don't want them to go through that. So we have these behaviors that we do to some people that may seem just crazy, obsessive, out of control, whatever they want to call it. And we all have different ways of parenting that we believe is right for us based on our past personal experience. So the way I'm raising my daughter is to be aware around sugar and be aware around candy, so that she doesn't end up eating it every day for 10 to 15 years like I did as a child, and right up until I was 25. So I am very aware of what she's eating now and what her food is, but I know that it's not always in my control. And if someone else is looking after her, then I just say, look, she doesn't have sugar, but you know, she's probably going to have tomato sauce that has sugar in it anyway, or they're going to have a dressing that has sugar in it anyway, and I'm just going to let that part.
Okay. So, can you give us an example of one of your success stories of working with someone that came to you with a certain issue? Then after consulting you, the issue magically disappeared. And how much time does it take to make sure your gut is in proper condition?
Yeah. So I had a lady who worked with me in about April, May, and she worked with me for about 5 months. She had anxiety and she had depression, and she was very emotional around food, and just in general, she wasn't happy with how she was showing up emotionally. She was really reactive. And I don't promise to cure anything for anybody, because that's not my job. I don't give people medical advice or anything about what medication that they're on. And working with me over the past 5 months, she's been able to come off her medication, which she does with her doctor herself, come off her medication, and she almost doesn't really, she's like, I don't think I have anxiety anymore. Like, it's just, she's confused because it's not really there, and she's
Because she
wondering
was used to it. I guess she was used to it after years, or I don't know how long it lasted.
Yes,
She might have been used to it. It's like, oh,
yeah,
this is just me. I'm just anxious all the time.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, since she was a teenager, so about 10 years. And because she always told herself the story, I'm depressed and I have anxiety, I have depression. That was her, like, hello, my name is, I have this. That was her story that she would always say. She never had any way that she thought that she could actually heal or get better from what she had. And because she was always told, when she was on medication, we'll try you on a different one, we'll try you on a stronger one. And she never actually realized that things can actually get better. So working with me, she didn't intentionally go, like, no one goes, heal my depression, heal. Like, they don't do that. They're like, I just want more energy. It might be something like really little, or I just want to feel good. And it's like, cool, nice. Like, all right, let's get you to feel good. And then after roughly around kind of 3 to 6 months is when they really start noticing quite big changes in themselves. They're like this completely different person. And the story that they tell themselves now is like, oh, wow, I actually can heal and I can get better. Like, my mind can get better, my body can heal. And I like to tell my clients, like, when we see externally, when we cut our skin on the outside, we can clearly see that it heals, and we know to look after it and put a bandage on it, and we don't just, put it out of the open and rub all sorts of stuff on it. Like, we actually look after it. If we can do that on the outside of our skin, then it's the same on the inside as well. It's not actually any different from being able to heal internally. It's just that we can't see it. So we can't see that when we're consuming all the sugar, or when we're telling ourselves toxic things and having a toxic mindset, we can't see any of that. So we can't actually see what it's doing. And when people go and get scans and tests and stuff like that done, or bloods, and they're told your tests are fine, we can't see anything physically, it doesn't actually show what's showing up mentally or emotionally. And that can really be the key to healing for people. So she's pretty much a completely different person now, and didn't even mean to go through what she did and be the person she is now. She just wanted a bit more energy. So
do you think I mean, that's a beautiful metaphor with this with the cut and how it heals. But sometimes when you talk to a person for the first time, do you sometimes know, like, I cannot save that. That one is beyond saving. It's like, no matter what I say, no matter, like, I give up.
Yeah.
Does it happen sometimes?
It only happens when the person isn't willing to learn, and when they shut down from the opportunity of being open to healing. So if somebody has, there are all sorts of autoimmune diseases and Crohn's disease and everything, that diabetes, cancer, and everything like that, as much as I tell them right from the start, look, I'm not making any promises or guarantees or anything like that, but you've got to be willing to be open to learning. And some people at the start go, yep, I'm willing to learn, cool. And they think that it's going to be, all right, let's just drink a bit more water.
Yeah.
Let's, like, we'll get an extra hour's sleep and, do a bit of exercise, cool. And then when we get to the mindset part of things, a lot of stuff comes up, and they're like, oh, like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like, they kind of freak out a bit, because the diet and the exercise sort of stuff, we sort of normalize, I guess, a bit more. We're like, yep, go for a run, go to the gym, you got to eat fruits and vegetables, you got to eat healthy. But when it comes to dealing with stuff that can really expose people's wounds and bring them up to the surface, then they're like, people tend to avoid and they hide, and they tend to pull away, because this is where it gets really uncomfortable for them, because they haven't done any of this sort of work before.
Mm-hmm.
And it's scary and it's terrifying stepping into the realm of the unknown. Like, who am I outside of this person who I am now? All I've ever known is I'm Susan that has panic attacks and has anxiety and social anxiety and doesn't go to parties.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a possibility that I could actually be able to go to parties or go to large crowds or something like that? And the thought of them thinking that it could actually be possible for them, some people lean into the discomfort and work through it. And then the growth out of it is just absolutely incredible. You know, they're just a whole new person and their mindset is just rock solid. But some people are like, okay, this is unknown territory that I've never been in before. This is unsafe for me. This is not okay for me to work through this. I'm just going to stay the same because this is what's comfortable for me and this is what's known. The unfamiliar is too uncomfortable. So that's the only time where there's people that they're not able to have a breakthrough, or they're not able to really get the results that they're after, is because when that discomfort happens, they pull away and they freak out, and then they just, disappear off the face of the moon.
Basically it's not as simple as, hey, exercise and don't eat sugar. Problem solved. The end. There you go. No. You have to address the mental issues and the sources of your issues, right? So sometimes when I talk to people and they tell me I am, and then there's the rest of the sentence, I think very often people should say, currently I am.
Yeah.
Or if you keep repeating I am, it's like, all right, this is who I am. This is permanent. There's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
But currently I am, I think, creates the mindset of, how about next month? Will I still be who I am today? Or next year, will I still be who I am today? Maybe yes, maybe no.
Yeah.
Would you agree with this?
Yeah, totally. Like, the way that your identity, like, the strongest force in the human nature is to remain consistent with who we identify as. So if somebody says, no, you're not that, and you believe you are, you're going to go into defense mode or attack or fight or flight because somebody's questioning your identity. So if you say, I am, I have diabetes, or I'm always sick all the time. I'm always sick, I'm never healthy or anything like that, other than I get symptoms, or I sometimes struggle with this, or, if you make it your whole identity and your whole being, it's really hard to detach yourself from that identity, because it's who you are. It's like attaching it to being a human being. Like, we're all human, but when you attach your illness or your sickness or whatever condition that you have as to your whole identity as a human being, then if you're ever challenged on that, then that's when you can feel like you're in danger, like you're really not in a safe zone when someone's challenging you with your identity. So that's another thing I teach on as well, is when you have been diagnosed with something. Like, I was diagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome, and I always told people, like, when I met them, it would come up in conversations with people, yeah, I have IBS, and I've got eczema, and I crave sugar all the time, and that's just who I am. And I'd even say I'm proud of this is who I am. Like, I take my medication on a daily, and that's just part of who I am, and there's no changing that. And I would say that to people, and they'd be like, oh, good on you for being who you are and standing up for yourself and owning who you are. And
so how would you say that now?
As in who I am now?
Yeah.
I would say I am a wife, a mother. I love gymnastics, fitness, personal training. I love to travel. I would talk to people about my goals and dreams now. I would say that I wake up and I feel vibrant and energetic and healthy, and I love thinking about where my life is going to be 5 years from now. Whereas it used to just be about surviving to the next day or to my next doctor's visit, because that next doctor's visit was going to be my golden ticket to freedom, because they were the ones that I thought were going to heal me. My next medication would make me free. Or maybe the medication after that, that's going to be the one that's going to heal everything. And I kept holding on to this hope in the healthcare system that they would heal me, whereas it was me that has the power to hold, to heal myself. I was the one that needed to take responsibility for it, which eventually I figured that out. But it was a good 5 or 6 years of just this victim mode, survival mode, poor me kind of thing.
Yeah, the victim mode is also addictive, I think.
Yeah.
And the constant blaming, genetics or family history. Like if you're talking to someone who's morbidly obese, what is the first thing they usually say? That they're big boned, or it just runs in the family. It is who I am. And then like, I don't think that if you die, your skeleton will show that you were a normal human being. It's just an excessive amount of fat on top of your regular body. Okay. All right. Okay. So last question. If someone doesn't want to yet or cannot afford your services and your consultation, what would you recommend them to read or study on their own? Any free online resources? What would you recommend?
Yeah, sure. So I do have a free gut health masterclass that I get really intentional with people. So I ask, are you wanting to invest into a coach program, or are you wanting free tips and advice, so that it's clear from the start? Some of them say, not ready to invest, I don't want to, I would just want something free. So I give them, I've got a masterclass that I give them, and it's an hour, and it shows you all the different ways to help heal your gut, like physically, mentally, and emotionally, all the different ways that we're not taught about. Also podcasts as well. I recommend a lot of podcasts to people. I love listening to, for my mindset and my growth, people like Tony Robbins, for example. I listen to a lot of his content. There's Dr. Mark Hyman, there's Dr. Rangan Chatterjee, who is a functional medicine doctor, and Drew Perowit has his own podcast, and he interviews people around wellness and mindset and medicine, and I listen to those podcasts every day as I go for a walk, and I recommend them to people. And when they do listen to them, I know that they do, because they go, I've never heard anything like this before, because their algorithm of life keeps showing them the same thing: fear, panic, that what's happening on the news. So they never see anything different, unless it's someone like myself who says, look, listen to this podcast. It's a different view than what you're used to. Let's see what you think about it. And they listen to it and they're like, I had no idea about this. And just totally blown away that there are functional medicine doctors and naturopaths and people who are medically trained but are away from the healthcare system, and they look at root causes rather than just treating the symptoms. Like, for example, I had a podcast I sent to somebody a couple of weeks ago, and it was about childhood trauma. His name was Dr. Gabor, something like that, and he talked about childhood trauma, and this person came back to me and said, I've spent thousands of dollars doing all of the juices and the detoxes and the healthy stuff, which has been great. But I had no idea that my childhood trauma would affect my stomach issues, my gut issues that I've been having. Like, I never thought of it. And this person has had some really significant trauma. So they're going to see a therapist, a counselor about that, to get that dealt with, because they had no idea that there was a connection. So I like to, recommend free podcasts to people on Spotify or Apple if they are, wanting something free. And there's only so long you can go for trying to figure it out by yourself. So these people usually go, well, this stuff's great, cool. And then they go back to real life and they don't have that coaching or accountability. So they're still kind of same behavior patterns. Whereas when you do invest into a coach, of course, you do have that accountability and the actual action steps, instead of knowing, like, because knowledge, having a mind full of smart things and you're a smart person doesn't mean that you're actually doing the action steps. You need to actually do the action required in order to help heal your gut, rather than learn about it and know about it and be like, yep, I know gut health, cool, and then just do nothing.
I mean, knowing something without implementing means that you don't really know it, or you haven't learned it properly. Okay. And I think that with access to the internet, you can basically learn on your own everything or anything you want. But without a proper guidance or an instructor or a trainer or someone holding you accountable, probably it's not going to work, because you haven't developed the required and necessary mindset of discipline up till that point. That's why you're in a mess. Therefore, how about you invest in yourself and hire someone that will help you do this? Now, I love your list of recommendation. The only person I would add would be Tim Ferriss. Would you agree? Or you haven't? All right, never mind. So I will send. I will recommend you Tim Ferriss, the 4-Hour Body and 4-Hour. I forgot the second title of his book. Fascinating gentleman.
Yeah.
Okay. Now listen. I could listen to your accent for 5 days nonstop, and I wouldn't say a word. Okay, it's so personally, subjectively beautiful for me to listen to. But at certain point we have to finish, and I think this will be the perfect ending. Thank you so much, and who knows? Maybe we'll talk another time one day in the future. You never know.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
You.